Welcome to Sideline Sports. I'm your host, Jake, along with my co-host, John. We were without JB again this week, but this week we got filling in from Squad Pod Sports. He's without his partner, but we have Wyatt to join the show. Wyatt, how you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on.
We're happy to have you. Wyatt is part of our Sideline Sports Network. He's one of our many shows that we have.
Yes.
So Squad Pod is one of those shows, and we're happy to have you, Wyatt. Guys,
thank you.
There's a lot going on this week.
There really is,
going to be big, and I promise we'll get to that. But I think everybody that's going to watch this knows the most important thing right now, March Madness.
Yeah.
And to say the least, it has definitely lived up to the name with the title of Madness. I don't think I've ever seen so many upsets. And I mean,
we're
into the Sweet 16. We have, I think, some of the most high seeds left in the tournament at this stage of any tournament, if that makes sense. I think that came out right. Now, we have, I'm going to pull it up. We have left. All right, here we go. We have 15 seed Oral Roberts, I believe, still in.
Yeah, they upset Ohio State.
That was
look. I had money on Ohio State too.
I'm not a huge basketball person, but I have been paying attention to this enough. This has been, I mean, wild stuff. So first of all, I saw something, and I want to get back to this actually, talking about the round of 32, because I saw something really crazy about that, and then I'll get back to the Sweet 16. It was the first time 4 teams seeded 13 or worse, so between 16 and 13, have reached the round of 32. We had 14 seed Abilene Christian, who made it, 15 seed Oral Roberts, who we just talked about, 13th seed Ohio, and 13th seed North Texas. So, I mean, look, that was crazy, but it didn't stop there, because just because that happened, we still have a lot of teams so far in the Sweet 16, and it's not done. We still have things to go. We have teams. We have what is that? We have a couple days from now coming up on I believe the 28th. We have number 11 UCLA versus number 2 Alabama. We could see somehow, albeit wild, we could see a seed outside the top 10 end up in the Elite 8. But right now, in terms of teams that are still in the tournament that are above 10, or 10 or worse, rather, so 10 to 16, we have number 11 Syracuse still alive. We have number 12 Oregon State still alive. Number 15 Oral Roberts. Okay, and that's just on one half. That's the Midwest and the South side of the bracket. On the West side, we don't have any of those, but we do have in the East, so on that other half of the bracket, that left side of the bracket, if you will, number 11 UCLA. Look, I don't think I could have predicted any of this, but I think my favorite upset still to this point has got to be I'm debating, but I would probably say the fact that number 3 Texas lost to Abilene Christian. I mean, that's a 14th seed knocking out a 3 seed.
Yeah,
that kind of it gave me the feeling. I don't know about you two, and I know you guys aren't as big in basketball, but that's okay. But it almost gave me the feeling of what we saw with Virginia a couple of years ago, when they were like absolutely shocked to lose.
They got shocked again this year.
I was gonna, John, you were thinking where I was thinking, because I was just gonna say, first round exit, number 13 Ohio beats number 4 Virginia, and that was what I was gonna say. I'm sorry to Virginia fans, because you went from being one of the best and you lose in the first round to a 16 seed as the number 1. Last year, you win the tournament. Congratulations, great. This year, back to the heartbreak. It seems like Virginia's stuck in a cycle of they're going to do a lot of heartbreak coming up, and I'm sorry for them. I am. But with the remaining teams, I'll just go down the list real quickly. We have Gonzaga and Creighton, USC, Oregon, Michigan, FSU, UCLA, Alabama, Baylor, Villanova, Arkansas, Oral Roberts, Loyola Chicago, Oregon State, Syracuse, and Houston. I got to quickly go around, and then we're going to move on to the NBA because there's only so much to talk about with these games. I know we made predictions. John, you and I we made our predictions last week, but of who's left, I'll start with John. Who is your winner still? I mean, has your mind changed, or who are you picking to win, or has your mind changed? If not, who are you still going with?
Man, I really want Loyola to win, man. It's for Sister Jean and stuff.
I was just thinking.
I was gonna say,
I want Loyola to win so bad.
Is that okay? You say that's who you want to win. Is that your prediction, or is that just your want, though?
Man, I mean, I want one of the. I said it last week. I said this is going to be a zany, full of upset tournament. You guys call me crazy. You said, "Oh, I think all the 1 seeds are going to be there." Blah blah blah. All the top seeds. Well, one of the 1 seeds is dead, so bye, gone. It's gonna. I told you it's going to be a zany tournament because of this pandemic stuff. They're your Dukes, your Kentucky. They don't have the opportunity to dominate. Gonzaga will fall apart eventually and choke like the Atlanta Falcons always do. So I'm just waiting on that so I can say I told you so. I'll be waiting in the weeds, just hiding, waiting for Gonzaga to fall apart. That's all I really care about. That's all I really care about at this point is so I can be right. Gonzaga, it's coming. Just not sure when. But it's coming. Gonzaga, mind you, I'm waiting. I'll wait. Weeds, hide. That's what I want. That's all I care about.
Wyatt, what do you think?
I mean, I'm with John. I mean, I would love to see Loyola Chicago win. Like, I don't think they're gonna win, but I would love to see it happen.
It's a nice story.
It would be a great story.
Yeah.
I don't know as far as the winner, man. It's so unpredictable. I mean, UCLA would be nice. I could see them winning.
You think 11 seed UCLA? Wow.
Maybe they could swoop in, but I don't know, man.
You're of the upset, huh?
I love an upset.
Jim Boeheim and his Syracuse Orangemen back to cutting down the nets. I don't think he can reach the ladder.
I mean, to be honest, I don't know too much about it, so I really can't give an in-depth analysis on who I think should definitely win. But I mean, I would rather have Chicago win that whole thing, just for the storyline,
For Sister Jean, that would
be Sister Jean. Do it for Sister Jean.
I got to stick with Gonzaga. I'll make it real simple. And I got one more thing about the tournament, and then we'll move on because I know this is not our favorite thing to talk about, but I know it's big. First of all, I'm going with Gonzaga for one real quick reason. They've been beating down opponents recently. I mean, their first 2 rounds, I mean, they crushed Norfolk State 98-55, and I understand the 16 seed.
This is the first time I've ever heard of Norfolk State when you mention them, so that doesn't even count.
But my point was, you have to take care of the teams. You have to take care of the teams you're supposed to beat. And we always say that, and that's true. And I know you know that, John. We've talked about that a lot.
Is that like
and
a YMCA school?
You got to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, and they're doing that. And they're doing it with conviction. Number 8, Oklahoma lost 87-71, a decisive victory. And I think that's the biggest thing for Gonzaga is they're winning with conviction. They're not just winning. They're obliterating opponents.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, they're the favorites. They remind me of Virginia of a couple of years ago, but it's a matter of will they fall apart like we saw Virginia a few years ago and this year, or will they kind of pull it out like Virginia did last year with, living up to the expectation.
Yeah.
And the only other thing. Yeah, John.
Went 5-0 in the first round,
John,
except
we're
Texas. But Texas lost to Abilene. You can't hear me?
We lost you. You're cutting out a little bit.
Uh-oh.
All right, let's remove John and we'll add him back in a moment. But and that's not, John. That was not my intent to not listen to you. There are times I don't want to hear what you have to say, but that was not one of them. Let's see if he's back. John, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Your picture's frozen, but we can hear you. There you go. There you go.
All right. So fun fact, Texas teams went 5-0 in the first round, except Texas, who lost to a Texas team. So really, Texas teams went undefeated in the first round because one of those Texas teams had to win. So really, they went undefeated outside of Texas teams. That's pretty impressive.
That's cool, I guess. But the other big storyline I just wanted to talk about very quickly. I mean, there's not much to talk about, but we talk about how COVID has impacted so much of the game. But we saw it in the tournament already. In the first round, I didn't like the way this happened. I understand it. It made sense. But VCU versus Oregon in the first round was actually canceled because of a COVID problem. And Oregon just being the higher seed, being the 7 seed versus
they just
VCU.
got pushed through.
Yeah. And look, I mean, Oregon just upset Iowa, and they were the number 2 seed. So I think what it says to me is, were they deserving of moving forward? Maybe, because they did make a huge upset. So they made the most of moving forward like that. I just don't love the ruling, and I understand that you have to keep the tournament going, and you can't really pause. I just don't love that they did that. I understand it, but I just hope we don't see that anymore in this tournament, because it's a once a year thing, and I know a lot of college basketball fans, this is their favorite time of the year. Just basketball fans in general. Some of them, it's their favorite time of the year. Between that and the playoffs, it's their favorite. So I want teams to be able to play, because even though Oregon made the upset against Iowa the next game, I think there's 2 things that have to be mentioned there. First of all, it's always possible Oregon would have been upset. A 10 seed upsetting a 7 seeds. It happens more often than a lot of other upsets because they're so close. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is, Oregon beat Iowa. And I mean, they beat them bad, I understand. But Iowa had to play a game before that. And it wasn't really close. I mean, they won by 12 against Grand Canyon, but it doesn't matter. I think something that's just important to think about. And I don't think it takes anything away from Oregon, of course, because they still beat Iowa, and that was incredible. Yeah. But I think the fact that they were rested and Iowa wasn't, that hurts. I mean, that's going to hurt Iowa. And that's the only knock, I guess you could say, I have in regards to that. But I mean, I understand it's the way the tournament is. I know that. It's just, I don't like it. I want the game to be played. I want it to be played as it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I fully agree, man.
So it's just one of those things. I hope it doesn't happen anymore, especially as John's back. There you go. As we're getting to the Sweet 16, but we'll see what happens. So I think that's enough March Madness, because the real madness for us as NFL fans, I think
going on every day,
entire offseason. I mean,
I look forward to it every year, man.
It is one of those things that is just, I think it's even more unpredictable than March Madness itself.
Especially some of the moves that have happened this offseason.
Well,
I mean, I would have never guessed that Joe Flacco would be on the Eagles.
It was one of the few signings I wanted to talk about. So, Wyatt, you're a Philly fan.
Yes.
So,
avid Eagles fan.
I want to start with you on this, just because you
don't sound very enthusiastic.
I actually don't mind the signing. I actually like it because it pretty much means, hopefully, that the Eagles aren't taking a QB at 6. That is like my hopeful plans. I'm hoping they draft like Smith or Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts, one of those guys. I would love any kind of offensive weapon to help out Jalen Hurts. But I mean, Flacco showed signs last year when he played for the Jets that he still has an arm. He can still play. I mean, it's not a bad backup to have. I wish they kind of would have went for someone like maybe Jacoby, but I understand he was a little bit more pricey.
Yeah, he's got the potential to still be a starter in most teams' minds.
I just wish they would have went with a backup. Oh, go ahead, John. Sorry.
Yeah, he's a nice veteran presence to help mentor Jalen Hurts. Yes. And Hurts is a tinier guy, so if he gets hurt, then Flacco can step in. He's not a bad guy to step in and hold down the fort until Hurts comes back, which is a possibility. I mean, he's not a big guy, but it's a nice mentor for Hurts, which you need, as we saw. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I was just hoping they would have kind of got someone that was similar to Hurts's play style, just so they wouldn't have to change the offense so much if, in case he did get hurt or something happened, they would have had to change the whole offense to like fit Flacco. But I mean, like what you said, I think he's going to be a good mentor. Just how Josh McCown, whenever he went and played backup for us, he was a very good mentor for Carson, at least for the time being, as when he was still there. But man, I don't know. I like the signing. I mean, it's only like one of the 3 signings that the Eagles have had because they have like 0 cap room as of right now, though.
Yeah, I think you guys kind of hit on all the points I was thinking. It's one of those things that it's necessary. And what I mean by that, Jalen Hurts needs a guy that has made his mark previously. And look, I know Joe Flacco is not what he used to be, but Joe Flacco has been to a Super Bowl. He has proven, while yes, his defense carried him. I know that's what happened, but nonetheless, still proven he knows what it takes to win. And I think that's really what's important here. I don't think he's going to play, and I unless need be. And I hope.
Yeah.
Look, I'm a Giants fan, and I don't want the Eagles to do well, but also at the same time, I want to see what Jalen Hurts has got because he's got a high ceiling, I think, and I think he also has a low floor. I think, or relatively. I'd say a middle floor. I think at the worst, he's still a decent quarterback, like a mid-level floor.
Yeah.
And I want to see him reach his potential, even though, would it suck for the Giants? Of course it would.
Yeah.
Because we'd have another good quarterback in the division, and it would be another person we've got to fight against when we play, as opposed to just being able to beat up on them possibly.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the same time, I have to look at it as an NFL fan, and he's got a lot of potential. And I think when you look at what happens with Joe Flacco, I think it's really going to be in his best interest, because even though Flacco, I know you guys mentioned he doesn't play the same way that Hurts does. You're right. There is still certain things that Joe Flacco possesses, experience that I think will be good for this. So I think it was a good signing overall. I know it's going to go under the radar because Joe Flacco is now just is going to be, for the rest of his career, probably just a backup.
Yeah,
and that's exactly. So people are going to be like, oh, who cares? It's a backup. It's those signings that really help, though, because look at some of the best quarterbacks in history. They all had a mentor. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he's a perfect recent example. Of course, Brett Favre is way better than Joe Flacco, but he had a great mentor to help him, a guy that knew how to win. Great quarterbacks can't just do it on their own. It's not.
Yeah, they need to have someone that's been there in all the situations,
Yeah, I mean, even Tony Romo is a great example of a guy that was a mentor for Dak Prescott. It wasn't for a while, but I'm sure there were some conversations on the sideline that helped Prescott. And even, I know John doesn't like Jimmy Garoppolo, but he's turned into a solid quarterback, and I guarantee you Tom Brady helped him develop. And I could keep going. I think this will be a good move for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, definitely.
I think he's got a lot of potential, and this is just another way to help unlock it. It's almost like having another coach on the sidelines, really.
Yeah, exactly. Someone that's there, like studying the game film with them, preparing. And I think one of the biggest things, especially for Philly, this means there's no QB controversy either. Like,
I would
for
have
the first time, there's no QB controversy, as if maybe we would have drafted a QB, who's going to be getting the start. They're going to compete for the starting job. There was even rumors of them bringing Foles back for a third time, which I was not for, because as soon as Jalen Hurts has one bad game, Philly's going to be calling for Foles to go.
Always.
It's not going to happen like that with Joe Flacco. They're going to stick behind Jalen Hurts, even if he's playing bad.
I hope for your sake that they do.
Yeah, I mean, it's Philly fans, so I mean, they ran Carson out of town after one bad season. But I mean, it is what it is. But I am I don't know. I'm not really liking the state of the team. There's not very much depth to the team. There's not a lot of talent left. I mean, they're getting pretty much entering a full rebuild mode as of right now. Yeah. I'm excited to see Jalen Hurts. I think he could be the franchise guy going forward.
Yeah.
Now it's up to the actual organization if they actually want to go that way. But
sticking with the NFC East, I got to talk about my hometown Giants.
Dude, your Giants.
And there's a reason. It's not just because I like my team. It's not for any fans. It's not just because I like my team. It's because they're actually making moves that are worth talking about.
Yeah.
And the first one
for sure
is the obvious one. I think the elephant in the room, Kenny Golladay signs with the Giants. Now, I'm going to refrain from starting this because I have my own opinions as a Giants fan, and I have my opinions as an analyst of the game itself. I want to go to John first because I can see John. He's got his thoughts. What?
That contract's going to be an albatross in a year. That is a bad contract. That is a great signing, but a terrible job with how much they're paying him in just 4 years. $18 million a year for Kenny Golladay, who had one of the lowest, since he's come into the league, one of the lowest catch rates in the entire NFL out of all the receivers. One of the lowest. At 56%, he catches a ball. Ball's thrown his way, he catches them 56% of the time. That's not good. Now, I'm not saying Galladay's bad. I'm not saying any of that. But the guy gets hurt. He's prone to injuries. He's a tall, skinny guy. A really good receiver. But can he stay healthy? Is he worth $18 million a year? Really? Do you want to go $18 million with Kenny Golladay? I like the guy a lot, but I have a lot of questions about the guy. And 4 years, about I think it was 72 and then maybe 76 with incentives or something like that. But it's just, I think they overpaid because of other teams were after Golladay, the Bears, the Bengals, a couple other teams. So I think Gettleman got a little bit hasty and was just like, all right, pull the trigger, give him everything he wants. Let's get this guy in. Which I get.
They didn't want to let him leave the city after he had to visit.
But 18 mil is I would have went like 14, 15 with Golladay personally and been okay with that. But with the question marks that I have for Golladay, even though I like him a lot, the 18 really, I think it's going to be an albatross in a year or two. It's going to be a big fat, like, why did we do this?
Why? I'll go to you before I say anything. I'm going to refrain from saying anything for that.
Oh man, I think it's a great pickup. I mean, I think you guys needed all the help you could get, especially like I know you guys let go of Golden Tate. Did you guys let go of any other receivers? I don't know if I saw.
Not that I know of.
But I mean, you guys
practice squad guys is that none of us really care about.
But I mean, I think that just helps somebody to bring somebody in to have a relationship with Daniel Jones going forward. And I mean, other than that signing, you guys have made a ton of other signings that
we'll get to that.
I think that are very beneficial to the team as a whole. I think you guys might be actually hate to say it, I think it could be between you guys and the Cowboys running the division here over the next couple of years. But
have we forgotten about the
Washington no names?
That is true. The division.
That is true.
I mean, Fitzpatrick is but that team is. They're off really good.
Yeah. He's Fitzmagic. What do you mean?
They also got Heineke.
And they still are reigning division champions.
For now.
Yeah. For now. I don't know. I think
They're reigning.
The Giants are definitely better off now than they were last year. And they definitely had a string of I think you guys won 5 straight at one point last year. So you guys went on a run for a little bit. But I mean, I think you guys, especially on defense, stacked up. I saw you guys got Adoree Jackson today. Yep. Which is a nice signing.
I want to talk about as well. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I hate to say it, but I like what you guys are doing in New York. I mean, you guys got the cap space to do it too.
Yeah. So I think I agree with both of you. Ironically, so John, I'll start with you. I do think we overpaid, but I think there's a reason for it. And while I don't like it, it really, when you look at it, it was necessary. Giants, first of all, need a number one receiver. I love Sterling Shepard. I think he is a great young receiver, but he's not a number one guy. He just does not have the ability to be the number one guy, and that is clear and obvious as I watch my team. Yeah. I know that. John Ross. All right, it's a nice little signing. He's a nice, third or fourth guy, depending on, what packages we're using or who we put on the depth chart as where. He's a nice speed guy. He'll burn some guys maybe and make some plays throughout the season, but he is not anywhere near a number one. He's less of a number one than we had with Sterling Shepard.
Yeah.
Golden Tate, you get rid of him. I don't blame them for that either. He wasn't helpful. bad attitude, get him out of town. I'm cool with it. And you start going down the roster, but now you're starting to think, well, who's the number one receiver for the Giants? He didn't have one. And that's why I like the signing. I know they paid too much. I don't disagree. But John, you hit on it. Yeah, they weren't going to let him get out of town. Why? Because they know they need a number one receiver. And I think more than anything, what Gettleman and the Giants realized, if Daniel Jones has any chance of being a franchise quarterback for us, which is clearly what they seem to believe, no matter what anybody thinks, that's what the Giants seem to think. That he's their franchise guy. You've got to surround him with weapons and players that give him a chance to win. So that's why I like the signing. I know it's too much, but at the same time, it's the right move. It's really what the Giants needed to be done.
Yeah,
they needed a guy that Jones can say, I can rely on him as well.
So did Gettleman only overpay because not only because he had to, but the reason would be he wants to prove that Daniel Jones was the correct pick by him. So let's stroke my ego. Mr. Dave Gettleman going to stroke his ego. So he's like, hey, everybody, Daniel Jones was the right pick. Oh, he's becoming a bust. All right. Well, I got to prove everybody wrong because I'm Dave Gettleman. I'm overrated. And I'm going to go out and overpay for Kenny Golladay and give Daniel Jones all the weapons I can give him just to give him every chance he can to succeed. Just so I wrong that Daniel Jones was the right pick, because that's a Dave Gettleman type of thing. Dave Gettleman is all about ego. He's all about He wants to prove everybody wrong.
I don't think so.
That's what I think this is about. John, more than Golladay, you need a number one. No, he just wants to prove that.
John, put yourself in the Giants' shoes, just for a second. Just try. I know it's hard because you're a Miami fan and you have delusions about Tua, but just for a minute, try. Think about it. If you have any shred of possibility that you believe the quarterback you have is your future, don't you want to surround him with the best talent to give him the best chance to succeed?
Of course.
So while I know you think it's an ego stroke for Gettleman, I don't know that it is. I'm not saying it's not entirely
that. He is with that guy.
But more importantly, to me, it sounds like, look, we want to give our fans a better product. We want to give a Giants team that can be better and can win games. And the only way that fans know we can win games, and I know this as a fan, is if Daniel Jones is able to play well. How is he going to play well? Well, he needs weapons.
Yeah.
And when you look at the Giants, who is Daniel Jones able to really rely on? I think he can rely on Sterling Shepard. I think that's a fair assumption. I've watched him enough. He's a good receiver. He's not a number one, like I said, but he's reliable.
He's a slot guy, yeah.
But he's reliable.
Yeah.
He's reliable at his position, where he sits. You can't really trust Evan Ingram. I think it's a failed experiment, and he needs to go.
Yeah.
But I don't need to get into that now.
No.
Plus, I don't think there is really that much great wide receivers out there still on the open market. You know, I mean, there's Sammy Watkins, which is he's okay, but he's very injury prone.
He's not a number one guy either, right?
Yeah, and I mean, other than that, who else?
Emmanuel
you got?
Sanders,
he just signed. I mean, then you got Antonio Brown, who knows what's going on with him.
I don't want anything to do with him if I'm a Giants fan, or I'm the Giants in general, rather.
I mean, he calmed down in Tampa Bay, but then again, he had Tom Brady, and he'll go to Denver.
And he was winning.
So who knows if he'll act up if he went to the
Giants. Was winning in Tampa as well. He got a ring.
Yeah.
He had that chance, right.
Yeah.
But I think the change of scenery could do him well, too. I think the Giants organization and the coaching staff now is a little bit more held together and reliable than what the Lions have been. Like, you know, that whole front office and coaching staff has been ridiculously abysmal the past how many years now? 10 years, 20 years.
They've wasted all of Matt's
30 years.
And I feel so sorry for him.
Yeah, so I mean,
he really is a great quarterback.
Maybe just a change of scenery with a new coaching staff, a new system. Maybe that's what he needs, to succeed. But who knows?
Yeah, I don't know, but that's why I think it's a smart move. It's just it makes sense for the Giants more than anything. And you couldn't, if you let him walk, we just talked about, well, who else could he sign? Or rather, who else could the Giants sign? Well, that's exactly the problem. There wasn't really anybody else that you could say, yeah, that's a guy they can sign. No, there wasn't that guy to sign.
They probably go after Allen Robinson if the Bears don't franchise tag him. If the Bears don't, I would imagine that would have been the Giants' top target. That would have been
that's a risky play. If they do, then you're screwed.
I think your guys' deal is better than the Patriots' deal with Nelson Aguilar. It was like 2 years. I think it was like over $10 million a year or something, like $12 million or something. I was like, what are the Patriots? They overpaid for all those players they scooped.
They did.
Pretty much. But I mean, they had the money to do so,
they didn't care. You can tell they had money to burn and they were just spending it.
Exactly.
And that's fine.
I mean, yeah. But I mean, I think it'll work well for you guys. I think he'll be all right. I mean, pending injuries or whatever happens, but
right. I think it was expensive, right? But
yeah,
this is
where
spend
money to make money.
This is where we get to prove how good or bad Daniel Jones is, though. I think that's what this is going to be.
That's the test. That's like what they're testing him, giving him the weapons. If he succeeds, great, we got our guy. If not, maybe we should start looking for another QB.
He really needs. I mean, the line isn't very good, so let's just start there. So he still has a bad offensive line, and they haven't gotten any better. So he was running for his life and tripping over his feet last year,
fumbling every game or some turnover every game.
But he's got to have Barkley's got to stay healthy this year.
Yeah, man.
Daniel Jones to really do better. He needs a run game. Needs his guy Barkley to stay healthy because Barkley hasn't been able to stay healthy, and they're not going to do what I've been suggesting in trading Barkley for a king's ransom. So you're stuck with the guy. You're stuck with hamstrings.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it didn't help that their offense was built just on Barkley's back the past couple of years too. Yeah. I mean, it just seems like every game they're relying only on Barkley just because they can't. Either Daniel Jones doesn't have time to throw the ball, or receivers can't get open.
It's both. I can tell you that as a fan. Both.
Hey, man, I've been there. I've seen it with the Eagles too. But I mean, you guys you put a lot of workload on him, and I mean that's what happens.
What's up, John?
Would Giants fans welcome OBJ back into the fold? He said second act in one of his tweets last week.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Would Giants fans welcome him back into the fold with Daniel Jones and with Kenny Golladay and Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton and Evan Ingram and Barkley? That would be an interesting offense.
That would be. I think that would be a good offense.
I don't know that we would, though. And I think part of the reason is his on-field, or rather really just directly off-field sideline antics kind of turned fans away from him. And we were excited when we re-signed him, obviously, just because he's a talented receiver. But at the same time, I think Giants fans are seeing Sterling Shepard is a good number 2 guy. He'll be good as a number 2. We just signed our number 1. We don't want egos to clash, and OBJ has a very big ego. And I can tell you as a fan, I would rather see Golladay, from what I've heard at least, he's very excited to get to work and help Daniel Jones and grow. He's said that he's excited to grow with Daniel Jones. Barkley is not known for his ego whatsoever. If you know anything about him, he is prototypical New York player, like the guy that you need, because he is not trying to stroke his own ego. Those are the guys that fail in our markets. Wyatt and I can speak on that. Guys that have big egos, they fail in our markets. Why? Yeah. Because our markets will eat, and will just eat you up and spit you right back out if you have a big ego. OBJ has a big ego, and that would hurt him. And I think fans, they'd be happy to have him back, sure, because he's great. But at the same time, there's less need for him now. Last year would have been different. But now knowing what we're doing and where we're moving, I think they'd just be like, he doesn't fit into the fold, and he'll be too much of an off-field or sideline kind of problem. That's what I would think.
The real question is, how good can he be still? I mean, he's been injured the past couple of years now. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, it looks like the Browns play better without him, too. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the past couple of years I've just, my interest in OBJ just keeps going down, man. I just don't know if he's that same player that he once was anymore.
Personally,
I know people think he is. People treat him like he is, but I don't know if he really is.
He's good, but I think he's gotten a reputation because of his ability to catch the ball in a very cool and exciting ways. Right.
Build
like
a career on one catch.
Those circus catches have given him his name. He's a good receiver, and I'm not trying to take away from him, but I agree. I think
he hasn't done anything since. I mean, aside from catching a slant pass, going to the house with Eli Manning, he really hasn't done anything.
Maybe put him in like at the slot, or put him in like another receiver position. Maybe that'll work like better for him. I don't know if he's a number one receiver though anymore.
No, but, I mean, 2019 he had a good season again. He had over 1,000 yards, so it was good. But this year it kind of gave me some pause. If you look at his stats, he played 7 games, so he didn't not play. Like, he played a decent amount.
Yeah,
he had 43 targets in those games. So again, he got volume.
Just doesn't look like the same guy.
I mean, he averaged 6 targets a game, which is, I mean, it's not incredible, but it's definitely plenty of volume. If you look at a season where, I don't know, he played 16 games, which he's only actually done that twice, but that's, I'm sure maintenance purposes. His best season was he played 15 games, and he averaged 10 receptions per game, and that's a lot. But the point is, he averaged decent numbers, and he's just not the same. I don't think. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just something about him is not. It's not the same.
Maybe he was always a little bit overrated because of the catch, and because basically he was a one-trick pony. Slant to the house. Yeah. He wasn't like a guy who was like, "Hey, I'm going to get you first downs." I'm going to carry
the DeAndre Hopkins where he does everything,
right?
And
exactly.
Some.
Yeah. So maybe we're all realizing that and just coming to that conclusion now, coming off that cloud of that catch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there were 2 more signings the Giants made. First of all, re-signed Leonard Williams, 3 years, $63 million. I don't need to go into that. I think that is an incredible signing. I don't care that it's a large cap hit. You can't let a guy like him walk.
You need a good defensive lineman.
To me, that was their best signing yet. And I like the Kenny Golladay.
I like the Adoree Jackson one the best.
I was going to say, Adoree Jackson's actually probably my second favorite, because if you look at their secondary, it's actually getting pretty strong. I mean,
he was supposed to have a meeting in Philly today, but he stayed overnight in New York. And I was like, man, if we could have him opposite Slay, man, that would have been dope. But yeah, that's a great signing for you guys.
I mean, if you want to talk about the Giants depth chart, just looking at the secondary as a whole, it's nice. You have James Bradbury. You're going to have Adoree Jackson. Logan Ryan, still a solid guy. I know he's not as big as the other guys, but he's good. And Jabril Peppers. I mean, the Giants have some holes to fix. I mean, Xavier McKinney, I don't know how he's going to be. Darnay Holmes and Julian Love are they're the backups, if you will. They don't get as many snaps, and I need to figure them out still, because the moment someone gets hurt, it makes me a little bit nervous with whoever's left. But I got to give credit to my team. I mean, I know that wasn't the weak point, and I still think they need to fix that offensive line because it is horrid.
Yeah.
But as much as I made fun of Dave Gettleman, I right now I'm saying, you know what? You're making some smart moves, and I am as a fan, I'm very happy. I mean, I think these are the kind of moves that they need. I don't know what it's going to look like on the field yet. That's to be determined. But I think the Giants are heading in the right direction. And I'm going to say this, and Wyatt, you understand where this is coming from. I'm not even going to begin to try and tell you who's going to win this division, because everything on paper always looks so good. Last year you think, Cowboys are going to be good. Eagles are going to be good, right? It's going to be a fight between the two of them.
Because there's been no 2 seasons where the same team has won the division.
Right. But last season, I guarantee you and I would have said Cowboys or Eagles win this division, and it's going to be a fun division to win. Who comes out and wins? Washington, out of nowhere.
Eagles dead last.
Right. Look, in most divisions,
so high hopes.
Most divisions, I could say this is going to be the order, boom, 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 done. And I'm pretty confident in those rankings. I would say, let's just take the Packers division. Packers are going to win that division. I wipe my hands and I'm done. And I don't have to really think about it. Why? They're the best team in the division. On a per-year basis,
it's also
I
by
say that.
It's also by default. because it's also by default because there's nobody else.
You know, you're absolutely right. Good. But most seasons, I could say, yeah, they'll win, and it'll probably be either the Vikings or maybe the Bears in second place, and then the rest of the division doesn't. But that's just the way it defaults. That's easy to predict, and I would say 9 times out of 10, I'll be right. NFC East is the most unpredictable division because they suck. They all suck normally. I mean,
they do.
Look,
but I think for this offseason, with the Eagles is the exception, but like the other teams within the division, like the Cowboys, the Giants, the no names, I think they've all added decent pieces to those squads, and I think, it's the NFC least, but I think they could actually be a little bit more than they were the past year or so. But I mean, I think you guys, just like some other teams in the NFL, were put in the right position this offseason with like last year they had all the opt-outs. Some teams were saving money, and now with the cap going down, you got all these like cap casualties that are being cut from all these teams. You can scoop up for cheap, get some good deals. So I mean, I think you guys are taking in the right position to take advantage of what's going on in free agency right now.
It's an odd offseason because of the low cap as compared to normal, and it's resulting in guys like Adoree Jackson. He's a good example. Most years he'd be on the roster the next year with the Titans, and that's it. Yeah. But because of a weird cap year, he falls. He falls into free agency. Why? Because the team cuts him because they need to save money, and it's not that he's not good enough. It's just we need to save money elsewhere, and it's such an odds. It's one of those things.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Steelers. They've cut so many players on that defense and on that O line, man. Like they don't have any of that depth they had on defense before.
It's one of those seasons. It's and it's going to be a weird season again. I hate to say,
it's going to be really weird.
We got to keep moving on. There are some more NFL things besides just my team. I want to quickly go over just a couple signings. I want to get quick thoughts. Rams are signing DeSean Jackson, giving Matt Stafford just another weapon on the offense. Quick thoughts here.
He's going to be amazing for the 2 games that he plays. Believe me, over the past 2 seasons he played for Philly, he played in maybe 3 games, 4 games. And listen, 2 of those out of 4 games were amazing. He had 2 50-yard bob catches for touchdowns. And he still has it. He's still got the speed. He can bust out and get some deep passes. But man, he's so injury prone right now in his career. It's terrible to say, but dude just can't stay healthy.
I agree. I think it's a nice idea, but it's one of those things. Is he going to be healthy? No, he's going to play. You gave him 2 games. You're being nice. I would say a half a game. I'm going. You want to give me an over/under on 1 game? I'll take the under. He plays less than a full game. Yeah,
I mean, there's at least 2 times in the 2 years that he played since he came back to Philly where I saw him get hurt on non-contact. Where I think it was the first year, it was 2019 season whenever he came back with us. It was the game against Green Bay, I believe, where him and Alshon got hurt the same game in the first quarter. And it was he jumped off the line too quick and he pulled something or whatever. And I'm dude.
Right.
But I don't know. I think if he can stay healthy, that would be nice for Matt Stafford over there in LA, but I don't know.
Jon?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's a low risk, move.
Yeah. Super low risk.
Yeah, it's low risk. They just got rid of Josh Reynolds, so they replaced him with DeSean Jackson. Much nicer upgrade. Josh Reynolds didn't do much of anything with them, so really if they get nothing out of DeSean Jackson, it really won't matter because they really got nothing out of Josh Reynolds anyway. And they have a great receiving core. Oh, what's up, JB? They got a great receiving core anyways. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods. And the run game is fantastic. So they don't need DeSean Jackson.
It's a nice piece when he plays.
It's a nice low-risk guy to take the top off the defense. And if he's not there, you really won't notice that he's not there.
No.
Yeah.
Another big signing, Chris Carson comes back to the Eagles. Back to the Seahawks.
That's news.
I was when did that happen?
No, back to the Seahawks. a 3-year deal, $24.6 million. So I gotta say, they got a good deal on Chris Carson. I mean, I gotta be honest, I thought he would have earned a lot more than that from another team. I thought he was going to get a big contract because
I mean, maybe he did. He just liked being in Seattle. I mean, I didn't hear anything about it, but maybe.
No, I heard nothing. I mean, teams love running backs. If we haven't learned anything, teams love to spend a lot on running backs, whether or not they're worth it.
I'm really surprised he didn't get hurt signing the contract.
That's another dude, man. Get hurt.
I would say that would be Deshaun Jackson is most likely to get hurt. Chris Carson, second place.
They need to shore up that O-line, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems. I mean, I think it's a great deal, though. I mean, it's a team-friendly deal when you think about it. Like, it's so cheap for what his value probably was, and it gives Russell Wilson his running back. I mean, I think that's ultimately all it really does, but good for them. You look at Aaron Jones, and I understand they're not the exact same level, but Aaron Jones makes big money, right? He's making his money at least. I know he's staying with the team. He's making his money. And then you see this, it's just, I don't know.
Aaron Jones, first team All-Pro choke artist. As I said last week, him and Aaron Rodgers, first team All-Pro choke artists. They both are on that team.
The choke artists.
Aaron Rodgers, 1-5 in the conference championship? He was first team All-Pro.
John, we've had this argument before. Look at how many points his defense gave up and then talk to me. It's not all his fault. I'm not saying 1-5. His fault.
1-5 is 1-5. As Bill Parcells said, you are what your record says you are, and he's 1-5 in conference championships. It's like Donovan McNabb blowing it in the conference championship year after year after year.
Did you just compare Aaron Rodgers to Donovan McNabb?
Yeah, remember Donovan McNabb went to 5 straight NFC championships before he made the Super Bowl? 4?
Yeah.
Before he made the Super Bowl?
JB, you spoke too early because here it is. He's comparing Donovan McNabb to Aaron Rodgers. Excuse me?
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, look, they both choked a whole bunch in the conference championship. No. And then finally made it to Super Bowl. Donovan McNabb took him 4 tries. Aaron Rodgers got it on his first. And then that wasn't McNabb's fault. McNabb got a whole lot of crap for nothing. Philly fans were awful to McNabb.
I don't know, man.
He should have been treated better in Philly than he was.
He threw that terrible interception.
He's the best quarterback you've ever had in franchise history. Best quarterback.
Yeah, I'd probably have to agree.
Yeah.
He just always got crap, and he shouldn't have gotten so much.
That's Eagles fans in general, I hate to say.
Aside from going out drinking the night before the Super Bowl or something like that, didn't he throw up on the field or something?
Yeah,
Eagles fans are harsh. Let's be real.
Yeah.
So
I like to be the realist I like to be the voice of the Eagles fans. That's the realist. I don't go super hard.
Two more signings we've got to talk about. The first one, it came as a surprise because when you look at the other teams that this guy could have gone to, it makes you think, is he delusional? And is this whole entire franchise delusional? And that's Juju going back to the Steelers when, mind you, he had offers not only from the Ravens, but the Chiefs. And he wanted to – so he turned down former MVP Lamar Jackson, former MVP and Super Bowl MVP Patrick Mahomes
to go play with the Super Bowl.
Fat and old Big Ben.
Yeah.
And he took a pay cut, mind you.
On a Steelers team that
is
dissolving quickly. It's like they're losing so many people right now. I mean, they do have a nice defense. They just don't have the depth that they did before. But yeah, you're tying yourself to a sinking ship at this point. I mean, it's a 1-year deal.
It's a 1-year deal. But he was smart because he knows, this is what a lot of receivers, a lot of players did, just sign 1-year deals until the cap starts to come back. That's what a lot of players did, just sign the 1 year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 1 year. What's it going to hurt? He's extremely young. When Ben retires, he can wait and see what quarterbacks they get if he wants to come back next year after his 1 year. If they get somebody better than old, fat Big Ben, then he can be like, oh, come back. If not, there would be a market for him. I think he's overrated, But
I think so too.
I think so too.
But you got to add the
market-
variables where like they suck, or like he's not getting the catches, or maybe he looks bad, maybe he gets hurt.
You have to
But
look at it
clearly-
like this, though. He
but
was one of
clearly-
the top guys in this class, and I guarantee you, if he goes to the Ravens or the Chiefs, he could garner some decent money. But more importantly, be on a team that's going to do some winning.
I think he worked out great on the Ravens.
Yeah, he would have been, but he would have been in a position to win, and more importantly, he would have been with some great quarterbacks. And it's not that Big Ben's not great, because he's had a great career, and I think he's a really incredible quarterback. I do. When you look at his career, he's a great quarterback, but not anymore.
Yeah, he just doesn't have it anymore.
You know what
He's
it
not
is?
what he used to be.
Yeah,
If it was Big Ben of 10 years ago, I'd say this is a great signing. Good for him. He's getting a good quarterback.
Big Ben is old and fat. We get that.
But
100%. You can go overrated Lamar Jackson, overrated in the Super Bowl Patrick Mahomes, or old and fat Big Ben, who you know is not overrated. So I'd go Big Ben, old and fat, because then you don't got to worry about having an overrated quarterback. He's old and fat, but at least you'll got a guy that's overrated.
Can you imagine this? Just think about
Super Bowl. He's overrated in the Super Bowl. He's deer in the headlights. Both Super Bowls, deer in the headlights.
He didn't have an O-line.
John,
but he was a deer in the headlights.
If you're Juju, just listen to this offense.
We're just giving him a pass because he's Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and now you. How do you turn that down? I'm sorry. You could pay me 2 cents a game to play for
I'd
that
take
team.
a pay cut to play on that team, man.
Maybe he wasn't allowed to do TikTok dances.
Maybe they say no TikTok allowed. We don't want your funny business dancing on logos.
That could be it. I don't know. That was mind-boggling to me. But I think what was even more mind-boggling is one of the most just destroyed and dysfunctional franchises right now. And I feel like, John, you and JB talk about this every week now. The Houston Texans.
Texans are making moves, man. I feel like every day
stuff.
I see the Texans sign somebody new.
I don't even want to talk about Deshaun Watson. We're just not even talking about that. But they signed Philip Lindsay. Why? You don't need another running back.
3, I wouldn't say high-profile running backs, but 3 running backs that could start for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I put it.
I don't get it. What is going on with their signings? Like, Duke Johnson's old and fat. Mark Ingram. I thought Mark Ingram went there because he wanted to start, which I get it. You know, you really don't have much competition.
Yes. I was super confused why he went there.
Yeah, well, that was before Lindsey signed. So I understand because Duke Johnson's not much competition anymore. And then you sign Lindsey, who I think is super underrated as a running back. I think he'd be a fantastic starter on most teams. I think he got the raw end of the deal in Denver. He should have been the guy that stayed. I think they should have got rid of Gordon, to be honest.
I agree.
I like Lindsey. I don't understand why he went there, and I don't understand why the Texans had interest. I don't get it.
Lied to? Are they telling all these free agents that Deshaun's gonna be there, be the QB?
Even if he's gonna be there.
What? I don't understand.
Is this. How can you start David Johnson, Philip Lindsay, and Mark Ingram all at once?
It's going to be the Baltimore thing all over again, where Mark Ingram doesn't even play, and he's a healthy scratch. It's going to be that all over again.
It's just a waste, and I think it's stupid on both ends. I don't know what Philip Lindsay was thinking, but second of all, why are they signing it? It's just I don't understand it. It makes zero sense. Okay, you don't like David Johnson, ship him out. Fine, but you don't need to sign Mark Ingram and Philip Lindsay on top of what you have. Choose one guy and stick with him, would you?
Yeah.
Not only that, but Ryan Finley you traded for, and then you signed Tyrod Taylor.
But I understand that.
What?
I'll explain it.
No, I don't even understand that because those two quarterbacks are terrible.
I'll explain it though. I'm not saying it makes a lot of sense. But they're probably planning to trade Deshaun Watson. So Tyrod Taylor.
Well, that's fine, but you're not going to win games with Ryan Finley or Tyrod Taylor.
I don't think they're going to win games, but I think Tyrod Taylor is just so they have a quarterback with a name that they know. That's all it is. I'm not saying that he's good.
You really want
not saying he's good. It's just a quarterback that people know the name. That's it.
Sure.
I don't say I agree with it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It sounds like a very, very poor backup plan. Now,
Yeah.
again, I don't agree with it. It just sounds like it's a terrible backup plan, and they panicked because they realized Deshaun Watson is going to be gone. Whether it's with all the the allegations against him right now that I don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
Whether it's because of that and he can't play football, or because they cut him, or he leaves, or whatever happens, I think they're realizing he's not playing football for the Texans again.
Yeah.
It seems pretty clear that's what's happening.
Like, it's even more confusing because every time they talk to the media, they state that, he's our QB. We have no interest in trading him. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, Jack Easterby's nuts. That dude, like, I don't know what's going on over there. But dude, I feel so bad for Tyrod Taylor. I feel like
I do too.
He did so dirty in the Chargers last year.
He has been done dirty everywhere.
Everywhere.
If you look at him, he's been the setup guy to every quarterback on every single team now.
Like Ryan Fitz. Like, no one's ever built around him. He's just been kind of that in-between guy.
This is something
quarterback.
I've noticed for Tyrod Taylor, and I feel so bad for him. We just go by team, like by season. The poor guy has just gotten the raw end of the deal. I mean, the last few times that he's been on a team, Buffalo, he was starting before Josh Allen comes in. Josh Allen replaces him as soon as he gets hurt. Gone. He's out of there. Los Angeles. Guess what? Justin Herbert just took his place. And it's
after he got stabbed in the lung. Like, he had a procedural injection, and that was like the team's medical staff's fault. And then they brought Herbert in and took his job. Like,
it's terrible.
My gosh.
It's terrible. He's either been a backup or he's gotten a position as a starter after being the backup and then benched again for somebody else because he gets hurt or something happens to him. It's terrible, and it's not fair. He's the guy I think I feel worst for every year because he's a good quarterback. Yeah, he has potential,
and teams know that, or else they wouldn't sign him. Like, they sign him because they know that he's decent. He's not like an elite or anything.
He's like a poor man's Teddy Bridgewater.
They can trust him.
And that's not saying much.
They can trust him to be out there and not completely suck. That's it.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel like Teddy B's career was going the same way that Tyrod's is.
Sure. If you want that in an NFL player that doesn't completely suck, sure. I mean, you're not going to win with players like that. But sure.
The Houston Texans, mark my words, are the next Browns.
They're them and the Eagles right now.
What I mean by that is they're not just bad now, but they're going to suck for a long time coming forward because management and ownership is garbage. It was bad with Bill O'Brien there as management, and they're still feeling the effects. It's terrible. It's terrible.
I mean, it didn't help. Bill O'Brien literally sold everything and then left, and then got canned. Like,
sold everything.
You sold DeAndre Hopkins for a bag of chips.
Yeah.
I mean, and what did he get? He got broken David Johnson, who, by the way, now has competition because Philip Lindsay is on that team, and Mark Ingram. I don't know. I can't keep going on this. We've talked enough NFL because if I keep talking, I'm just going to complain about Bill O'Brien because I could do that forever. Wyatt, you're going to fill in for JB this week. We need some help. What's going on in the NBA? Fill us in.
NBA, man, two big storylines that are happening. LeBron James is hurt. That's what's going on in the NBA. LeBron James has a high ankle sprain. Pretty much someone fell on his ankle as he was scooping up a loose ball. He's out indefinitely, but they said at least 3 to 4 weeks. Yeah, I mean, that's a big blow to the Lakers as of right now because, as you know, Anthony Davis is currently out.
He's gone.
So I mean, I think let me look at the standings real quick. I mean, they're still third in that conference, but I mean, they could just keep sliding as of right now because I mean, the Clippers are tied with them with wins, so the Clippers are most likely going to jump them, so they're going to be down to the 4th seed.
And this year, home field matters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody knows the Lakers were one of the shoo-ins for the finals, you know. I mean, if everybody's healthy. But I mean, as of right now, the Lakers, they're 6-4 in their last 10, and they've lost the last 2 straight. So I mean, it's not looking good for them as of right now. Utah was also sliding as well. They're 5-5 in their last 10. And I mean, they were like the best team in the league for a while too. But the biggest story other than LeBron getting hurt is LaMelo getting hurt.
Yeah,
he broke his wrist. They were saying he was going to be out for the rest of the season.
That's what I heard.
But yeah, now they're saying he could come back either right before the playoffs or during the playoffs if they're in. So they're still giving a little hope that he could come back eventually. But I mean, who knows where they're going to be at, who they're going to match up with in the playoffs. I mean, those are the 2 biggest stories as of right now among all the crazy trade rumors that are going on.
I mean, let's go back to LeBron and the Lakers for a second. You know, they're at 3 right now. Clippers are probably going to take that spot until LeBron comes back, and then I don't know where they're going to be sitting when he comes back. So,
by the time LeBron comes back, the playoffs have already started. So.
Probably. It could be that. So that's what I mean. So what I mean is I don't know where they're going to end up sitting. If he comes back early, great, but still. So they're going to at least be the 4th seed. Then you look at the Nuggets. Well, they got the potential to take that spot because if the Lakers have nobody, they fall to 5. So now you're looking at the Lakers at 5. So I got to ask, does that hurt the Lakers in the playoffs then if they drop that low? Because then they have to play another top-tier team like maybe, you know, if they could end up playing a team like the Suns or the Clippers. If the standings kind of stay where they are, they could end up playing a team that's, you know, 2, 3, or maybe even 4, depending on where they land. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's correct, man. I mean, if they end up, they're not used to matching up with the good teams. First off, I mean, they're used to matching up with that 8 seed or 7 seed, knocking them out of the way, you know. But I think, especially if LeBron and AD don't come back until either the end of the season or right at the beginning of the playoffs, they're not going to be gelled right away. They're not going to have that. They're not going to be playing like at 100%. You know, they're not going to have the momentum going into the playoffs. They're going to have to find a way to build that chemistry again with the whole squad. And I mean, doing that against a good team, that could be dangerous in the playoffs. But I mean, it is LeBron and AD and the Lakers though. But I don't know if they match up with like the Suns or even the Clippers or the Jazz, it could get ugly, man.
Yeah. What I was just thinking about this, you know, and I want to pose this to the both of you because I'm thinking about this. We're talking about, and why it's because you brought up LeBron and AD. We don't know when they're going to come back. And when they do come back, how are they going to be in terms of on the court play? How are they going to come back from injury? And are they going to go right back to the way they were? No, probably not. That's pretty unlikely. They're going to take a little time. Could we see an early Lakers exit only because LeBron and AD come back too late? And by the time they come back, they don't have enough time to get things going. And they're playing too good of a team, like maybe the Clippers. And the Clippers and Kawhi could say, hey, we're taking advantage of this. And they move on and knock the Lakers out early. Could that happen?
I mean, it could happen. Do I see it happening? Probably not. If I do see the Lakers getting knocked out, I could see it just in like the second or third round. I don't see them getting knocked out in the first round unless it's against like one of those top teams, you know, unless they fall that far where they have to play one of those top teams. But I mean, even if they play the Clippers have a lot to prove. I mean, the past couple seasons, they've gotten into the playoffs, they've gotten past a round or two, and then they choke. I mean, it's the same situation with the Bucks or I mean the Sixers, any of those teams. I mean, the Sixers will look like contenders this year.
Most overrated team in the NBA right now.
I 100% agree. I hate the Sixers, man.
I want to get into that after this. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers lost, though. But I mean, that's based off if they have the chemistry going in. Right. Maybe if they think they're healthy enough to get them into the lineup, kind of get that chemistry back maybe a week or two before the playoffs start, you know, kind of get some momentum going in.
That's what they need.
But, yeah, that's what they're going to have to do.
No, I agree. John, I just want to throw it to you quickly, and I know why I probably touched on everything you were thinking, but I just want to
basically
get your thoughts.
Yeah, you guys touched on everything. I mean, there's really not much else to say about it because I was actually thinking every point you guys made. I was thinking that same thing about when they come back. Are they going to be healthy enough? You know, are they going to have the chemistry? And are they going to have enough time between coming back and like between the playoffs? Because it's hard to just flip that switch. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, and I think they're very concerned about Anthony Davis's Achilles because I mean he was out for a while. They brought him back for a game or two, and then they pulled him because he was getting sore in it again. And I mean, that's the same thing that happened with KD. He had issues with his Achilles in the finals with the Warriors. They brought him back. He ended up tearing it because they brought him back too soon. So, like, if they do bring AD back, is he going to be fully healthy? What happens if he gets injured again? Like,
if AD comes back, if AD doesn't come back, like say he's not ready for the playoffs and they roll him out for the first round, do they rush LeBron back to the first rounds, with his high ankle sprain, or do they
play?
I mean, does LeBron rush back because you don't have AD? You're probably not winning against.
Yeah, I was going to say if one of them comes back, I could see them having an early exit. If both of them are back, I can see them moving on to the next round. But I mean, if it's only one of them, I could definitely see like them being knocked out early.
The Lakers aren't built. They're not built to win without, the both of them. They have to have both to win, I think. Yeah. That's how they're built.
No, I agree.
Yeah, not every team could be the Nets and have 5 superstars on
the championship. Yeah.
So I got one more thing about the Lakers because we're talking about the standings. So I want to bring this up and then get your opinions, and then we'll move on to the East because there are things I want to talk about and why you kind of brought them up. So I do want to talk.
Yeah.
So Lakers sit at 28 and 15.
Yeah.
But the West is really close. I would say between like the 2nd seed Suns and down to even like the 6th seed Trailblazers, because every single one of those teams is between 28 and 25 wins. So it's only a handful of wins that separate those teams. And to compare that to the East, the number 3 Bucks and the number 1 Sixers are 2 games apart, with the Nets at 1 game apart between each of them. It's all close. Then you have the number 4 Heat at 22 wins. That's a 6-game difference between the number 3 and the number 4. So it's a little bit more spread.
Yeah.
With the Lakers losing these guys for an extended time, how low could the Lakers drop? I mean, how far do we see them landing when the playoffs start? Where do we see them probably seated? I'll start with John.
Probably if LeBron is out basically until the playoffs and AD is out,
I'd say let's assume that they probably are.
Probably best.
I would say let's assume they are.
Yeah, I would say 6 at best.
I'm kind of thinking the same. I look
6
at
or
this,
7.
I think the Clippers take them, no doubt. I think Clippers take 3rd place.
Yeah.
They have identical wins. It's just the Clippers have played an extra game and lost an extra game. So I think the Clippers will take 3, no question, which puts Lakers at 4. I think the Clippers are right. Excuse me, the Nuggets. The Nuggets are right there. So I think Lakers minimum 5. Trailblazers, I know they're not as good, but again, it's close standings. I'm saying Lakers are definitely, I would say minimum 5, lowest 6. I'm between those two. I think is where they're going to probably land. And I know we touched on it, but that's going to really hurt. I mean, that means they're going to play. Let's say Clippers land at 3. They're probably going to have to play, the Lakers are, let's say, at 6. They're going to have to play probably either Jazz, Sun, or Clippers. And those are all going to be tough. So where do you think they're going to land? And then they'll move to the East.
I mean, I agree with you guys. I think they're at lowest 6. I probably figure that they're going to land at 5.
Yeah.
But I could see Phoenix actually taking that number 1 spot from Utah here by the end of the season, though. Phoenix are hot right now, man.
They look good. And that's a whole nother story. And speaking of Phoenix, really quickly, shout out to Chris Paul. He had his 10,000th assist, I believe, this week, didn't he? Right? I think I saw that. So
10,000 assists, and he's 10,000 assists, and he's assisted in 0 championships. Isn't that quite the stat? That's your
it's still impressive, though. That's still very impressive. I mean, just congrats to him. All right.
Yeah.
Moving to the East, John just brought it up. We're talking about the Sixers.
The damn Sixers.
How do you feel about them? Do you think they're deserving of that top spot? I know you had something to say, so I just want to throw it to you. What you had to say about that.
I hate to admit it, but I think they do as of right now. I think they'll lose it to Brooklyn eventually. I mean, but even though as of right now, Philly doesn't have Joel Embiid. I think Simmons has been out the past couple of games. And they've still been winning. As of right, I mean, they're on a 2-game win streak. They're 8-2 in their last 10. Tobias Harris has been balling for them. I mean, even Danny Green has showed up a little bit. I don't like the Sixers. I do not like Joel Embiid. I think he talks too much for what he does. I mean, this is his first great year that he's had, and I mean, even now he's still injury prone. I'm just not sold on the Sixers. I never have been, especially like Ben Simmons.
You don't trust the process?
I don't trust the process, but I mean, it seems like Doc Rivers came in and kind of built something there. He found something. Yes. He was able to work something out with that team to make them great. So, I mean, they have one of the top defenses in the league. I mean, I hate to admit it, but Philly is one of the contenders for the finals, but I just don't see them beating Brooklyn, man. Like, I understand they have the top defense, but Brooklyn, man, they can just make every shot. And I mean, KD hasn't even been playing. He's just been sitting out, and I mean, even Kyrie's been sitting out, and James Harden's just getting triple doubles, getting wins. But I don't know, man. I think Brooklyn is going to end up taking that one spot. I'm still not sold on Milwaukee as far as going to a championship.
Milwaukee's a good regular season team, is what I'm starting to understand. Like, I've started to notice. I think they're a great regular season team, and they are as scary as anybody in the regular season. They're like the Saints. I think John will like that. They're kind of like the Saints, right?
That's perfect. Yeah.
Awesome in the regular season. And you see them on your schedule, you almost just say, all right, we're going to lose that game because they're that good.
Yeah.
When they come to the playoffs, all of a sudden, every year,
always
can't get it going.
It must be a Wisconsin thing because Aaron Rodgers does the same exact thing. So it just must be a Wisconsin
has nothing to do with the Saints. Why do you come back to him?
Look, the Brewers do the same thing, too. They have Christian Yelich, an MVP himself, and they choke in the playoffs. It must be a Wisconsin thing.
I don't think
These teams from Wisconsin just choke it away. Look, Wisconsin in the NCAA tournament. What happened? They're gone. It's a Wisconsin thing. Sorry, Wisconsin, but you're just a bunch of choke artists. All your teams are choke artists.
There's been a handful of teams like that over the past 5 to 10 years who have been constantly contenders but have been constantly choking every year. I mean, Boston is one of them. The Celtics, they have not been having a great season this year
at all. Look good at all.
But I mean, past like how many years they've been having one of the top seeds going into the playoffs, having great first couple rounds, and then get knocked out. But right before the finals.
You know, it's funny.
Boston, the Clippers, the Raptors, Bucks, all of them teams. Giannis
is an MVP, choke artist. Aaron Rodgers is an MVP, choke artist. Christian Yelich is a choke artist and an MVP. They got quite the thing going there in Wisconsin with MVPs and not being able to follow through. It's funny how that coincides. Just saying, think about that. That's a nice little stat of the day right there.
John, I'm just saying you still think Tua should have been benched. I'm always going to make fun of you.
I'm just saying, I'm pointing facts at you. MVP.
I'm pointing facts at you too.
I trust the Packers more than I trust the Bucks.
I agree with that. Packers have at least won with Aaron Rodgers. All right, enough about that.
But yeah, I mean the Sixers though. I'm not. They're great, but I'm not sold on them in the long run.
They're no Miami.
The Sixers, we don't trust them. We think they're no Miami. Can take the top spot. So the question I now pose to the both of you, and John, we've kind of talked about this last show, so you can chime in, but I really want to hear what Wyatt has to say because we haven't heard his opinion. Are the Nets the best team in basketball?
No.
Maybe offensively, because their defense is not great at all. It was like a couple weeks ago, I read a stat on Squad Pod Sports about they had the highest rated offense in the NBA, but the lowest rated defense. They've allowed the most buckets scored on them. I mean, me and Vern have talked. We expected it to be a Nets-Lakers finals, but I mean, the Lakers we talked about, we don't know if they're going to end up getting there.
Yeah.
But I mean, as of right now for the Nets, it's finals or bust. I mean, if they don't make it to the finals, there's something wrong with this team.
Disappointing.
Yeah, it'd be very disappointing. Because I mean, I'm not expecting KD to come back until right before the playoffs, so he can be at full strength. I mean, I just think it's load management at this point. They say he's injured, but I just think it's load management.
Could be.
But I wouldn't say they're the best team overall, like
Then who would you
well-rounded.
say is the best? Otherwise, I'm just curious.
Man,
John, it's not the Heat. Stop pointing at yourself. I know that's what you're doing over there.
he is. I mean, the Heat have been on quite the tear recently.
We've lost a couple games.
I was going to say, 3 losses in a row is a very good tear.
But
it's all right. Every team goes. It's like a relationship. There's a rough patch. It's all right. This is our rough patch. We're just getting through an argument.
Best team in the league before the All-Star break, I would have said the Utah Jazz. I think they were the most well-rounded offensively and defensively.
Downslide started with the Miami Heat, by the way. They're lost in the Miami Heat, and that's when they downslid.
John, it's coincidental.
Utah has been slipping a little bit since that All-Star break, and I'm not like maybe they can just get back to form before the playoffs. But man, them Suns, I think they're very underrated as of right now. I think those Suns could actually do some damage.
I know John is not a fan of my Nets talk.
No, that's overrated. You don't play defense. You don't play defense. You don't win an NBA Finals.
No, I'm not disagreeing. I just think that the one thing I look at them is they remind me of the Chiefs, and what I mean by that, they're so offensively scary that they can suck on defense so much that it won't matter sometimes.
But the NBA is
the next thing I was going to say. I was going to compare them to the Chiefs. Like they're going to have to outscore their opponents to win every single time.
It's a matter of
they can do it.
Yeah, but NBA is a little bit different when it comes to playoffs.
No, you're right.
You don't play defense in the NBA playoffs. You don't win game. You don't win a championship in the NBA if you can't play a lick of defense. And then, to me, the Nets don't play defense. My concern is, what is KD? That's what I've been saying even before the season started. What are we going to get out of KD? We know he's a great elite player. He's going to be one of the best of all time when he's done. But what is he with that Achilles injury? I still don't know, because this is what I was worried about before the season. How's that ankle going to hold up? Like how's that all going to hold up down there?
7-game series throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, and we already see them sitting him out, whether it's for injury or maintenance because of the Achilles. So that's my worry, is what is KD? And we talked about with the Lakers. You can't just flip a switch a day before the playoffs and say, all right, go in there.
Yeah, exactly.
We just said they're going to do that with KD. So that's my concern with the Nets.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your point about you have to play defense in the playoffs. But I mean, no matter who they're playing, look at the players they're going to have to guard. They have to guard Kyrie. They have to cover James Harden, Blake Griffin now.
I was going to say, hold on. We got to say this. Before we move past it, John, Blake Griffin can dunk again.
He
dunked for the first time now. He's back. He's fully back.
Former slam dunk champion.
I was going to make that point before we end the show in a few minutes. I had to say, Blake Griffin has officially dunked again. I think he might be back.
It's like he learned to ride a bike when he was a kid, forgot for 30 years, and then he got back on a bike, and now we're all giving him a congratulations pat on the back. Congratulations, 45, 50-year-old guy that finally got back on the bike. Congrats. Participation trophy.
But yeah, I mean, to finish my point, though, the other team, no matter what team they play, they're going to have to cover all of those crazy good players on the Nets. And I just don't know if any team, at least in the East, has that depth to be able to cover all those players at once. I feel like the Nets, if you cover Kevin Durant, you got 4 other options that are going to be able to score. It's scary, man. And I mean, I personally hate it. I hate the super team era that's part of the NBA now. I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate how there's all these stars rather play all with each other on teams than have competition, try to beat each other. I mean, that's just, I'm very old school basketball like that. But I mean, it's a new era in the NBA. I have to deal with it though.
I don't disagree though. I think it's not as fun because now there's just a select few good teams because everybody's together instead of more.
Pretty much know what teams are going to be in the finals every year.
Yeah, I mean, it's why we saw LeBron versus Curry for 4 years, right? Why? Because nobody else wanted to go anywhere else. Those were the two teams. That was it.
Yeah, I liked seeing the Heat in it last year. You know, it was something new. I was rooting for the
Don't
Heat.
say that again, only because we don't want John
Appreciate
to get
that.
straight.
Oh, listen, bro.
I appreciate that.
Jimmy Butler is
Do it
my
again.
favorite player in the NBA because he came from the Bulls. I'm a Bulls fan. I love Jimmy Butler. He's one of my favorite players in the NBA. So that's why I was rooting for him. I was like, Jimmy, go out there and get a chip. But I mean, unfortunately, injuries, Bam was out.
Welcome back on the show anytime, Wyatt.
Listen, I have no quarrels with the Heat. I love the Heat mainly because Jimmy Butler.
I only have a quarrel because of John.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, I piss on the Brooklyn Nets because my boy Alex is a Nets fan, and I hate on the Lakers because Vern's a Lakers fan.
It all makes sense. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
But, look, I think it's something we'll have to just wait and see, and I look forward to seeing what happens. But I think that's it. I know, Wyatt, you have Squad Pod. Funny enough, you're going to record in a few. So
Squad Pod Sports. The new episode will be out Thursday.
So, guys, be sure to check that out. Check our socials as always: Instagram, Twitter, Sideline Sport 1, YouTube, Facebook is Sideline Sports for us. Wyatt, where can they find you and/or Squad Pod Sports?
Right here, you can see it's at Squad Pod Sports on Twitter. Make sure to go follow us, and then you can type in Squad Pod on YouTube. That'll bring up our page. We have other podcasts that we put out on there as well, other than the sports one. But we're having a ton of content on that page here soon. But yeah, that's all I have to plug here as of right now.
Not only that, but like you guys, because I watch your shows, you guys' graphics, like what you do with all your little animations and stuff is really cool. So like people should go and check out not only like what you guys talk about, but like the animations.
I appreciate that, man.
That you guys do is really cool and it's really fun.
That's all Evan, man. Shout out to Evan. He works. I feel like every week he's on to something. He's working on something new, trying to figure out something else to, introduce into the podcast or whatever. Because I mean, we got some other stuff we got lined up that we want to release as well. But yeah, I mean, I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, of course. So
Happy
check
to have
me
you.
out. Check me out, NBA Carousel Monday nights, 8 to 9. Covering the Heat, best team in the NBA. NFL Carousel in the fall with Alex and Eric and all those folks. And then, of course, here Sideline Sports, the best network in the whole world. And then go to Twitter. You can find me BlueHawks13. And Sideline Sports is this week and last week, and the next couple weeks we're covering the pro days for the NFL. So we're covering all these college teams, Alabama, all these big and lower teams. We're on their pro days just like we were on the Super Bowl. So Sideline Sports is making noise. So continue to check us out, like, share, subscribe, all that good fun stuff. Check out all our shows. Check out Squad Pod Sports. Check out Pundits Pundit with Jacob Christner on our team. You want to check out Bryce Lewis and his, all of his shows. He covers the Atlanta Hawks, the Atlanta Falcons. Check out
Snowman
Robert
in the morning, Brian Snow.
Yep, Brian Snow on Sideline Sports. Check out Brian and his show. Check out Robert Street with Diamonds in the Rough, I believe it's called. Diamonds in the Rough. Got that right. Check out Matt and his team on Sideline Sports, Perch Gridiron Gang. So you want to check out all the shows here
So many good shows.
Yeah, we have so many.
Links are always in the description of every video on YouTube, so make sure to check us out there. You guys can find me on Twitter at Jake_Malik. Like I said, all our socials, they're run across the bottom, so be sure to check us out there. Check our YouTube channel because we always have NBA Carousel every week, Mondays at 8 p.m. A lot of good stuff going on there. John, what are you going to say?
And check out JB on the Believe Network. Check out
on the program. Yes.
Check out the program on the Believe Network. Check out JB on there. He does a great job.
I think that's it. So, guys, have a good night, and we will see you guys next week.
Yep. See you.